What's up, gang, and welcome back to another YouTube video. I hope you've been doing well this week, because I've been having an amazing week. Because as you can see, I've been absolutely obsessed with brutalist architecture. That's been this week's fascination. Thank you for asking. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact that we don't make architecture like this anymore, or the fact that it's almost like a relic from a past that probably will never be seen again. Yes, it is a little bit creepy, and I could see why many people wouldn't like it, but there's something about it that I am extremely drawn to, I have to say. It's ugly, but it has character to it in a very strange way. And I think that the juxtaposition between those two things is actually pretty cool. So yeah, I've been heavily inspired by this kind of architecture this week, along with Soviet post-punk, if you will, synth bands. Sort of like Molchat Doma. They had a really popular song a couple of years ago that I've also been obsessed with this week. So I've been listening to a lot of their music, which I highly recommend that all of you should check out if you don't know this band. I'm actually going to leave a link to their music in the description of this video so all of you could check it out, because I think they're absolutely phenomenal. So this week I decided to make a Serum 2 synth lead style preset, sort of akin to something that Soviet post-punk synth bands would make as well. Without further ado, let's just get into it. I'm going to play this little synth melody just on the initial saw sound in Serum 2. That's all it is. It's a very, very simple part, but within the context of the final production, which we're going to go over, I think it works super well. So without further ado, let's start designing our sound. For Oscillator A, we're going to stick to wavetable. We're going to click on Serum 2 tables, go to analog, and click this AT fam 1. Let's detune it, 10. And then for the wavetable position here, let's just raise that to around 60. Now let's go ahead and turn on Oscillator B. Let's choose the exact same wavetable. Serum 2 tables, analog, AT, fam. This one we're going to raise the fine tuning by 12 and then turn the wavetable position all the way up. And let's add some unison to this sound. So let's go with 4 voices and let's detune it a little bit. And we're also going to raise this one an octave higher. Now let's lower the level of Oscillator A. Great. So for Oscillator A, we have a sort of sine wave, and for Oscillator B, we have a saw, which is what I wanted. Now we could have gone with a straight sine wave and a saw wave, but these tables are a little bit more texturally interesting, which is why I decided to go with them. Now we can go ahead and turn on our noise over here. Let's select analog and then go to bright white. By using this level knob, you can just control the amount of noise that you want. That's way too much, so I'm going to leave it at the default, which is around 20%. Now we can modulate our oscillators using our noise. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this left warp bin, go to Alt Warp, bend plus or minus. Let's do that for both of them. And then let's raise them both to about 20 or 30%, somewhere in there. And now we can grab this noise and just drag it to the bend plus or minus value that we just assigned as the warp mode. Now for the range, I'm going to set it to about 15%, but again, you can fine tune it to your taste. And now we can see the wavetables are being modulated directly from our white noise, which is pretty cool, and it's going to serve to add some more analog texture to our sound. Next, we can change our envelope up a little bit. For the attack, let's slow it down a little bit to 3 milliseconds. For the decay, let's shorten it to about 650. For the sustain, let's drop that a lot, so about negative 20 decibels. And then for the release, let's set it to somewhere around 250, 300 milliseconds. And before we forget, let's just make it mono over here and raise our portamento a little bit to about 1.5 milliseconds. So now that I'm happy with the way that this is sounding, we can start adding some effects. So let's click on the effects tab. The first thing we're going to add is a filter. And this is where a lot of the character of our lead is going to come from. Let's click on the filter type. Go to Serum 2 filters and let's select this Comb 2 filter. For the cutoff, let's raise that a little bit to around 530 hertz. For the resonance, let's increase that a lot to about 80. Drive can go all the way up. This frequency 2 can also go up a lot. Let's do 70. And for the pan, we're going to pan it all the way to the left. And this is going to be really intense, so let's drop the mix to about 60%. So you can hear just how much texture that's adding. The pan here is really important. If you don't pan it, if you leave it in the center, in other words, it doesn't sound nearly as cool. And again, you can make this as intense as you want by raising the mix knob. I like the way it sounds at about 60% over here. Next, we can go ahead and add a flanger. I'm going to leave this at the default settings and just lower the mix to about 50%. And then let's go for another filter over here. Let's set it to MG low 18 and let's set the cutoff to about 7,000 hertz. Increase this resonance and the drive a little bit. And now we've warmed up our sound a lot. The reason I'm doing this is because a lot of these old synthesizers don't have that pristine high end that Serum 2 offers us. There's really very little information above about 8 or 10K maximum. So that's why this filter is going to add that more authentic vintage synthesizer sound. Next up, I'm going to add a very simple EQ, and I'm just going to do a low cut. So I'm going to change it to this type over here. Let's reduce this Q factor because you don't need that resonance. And I'm going to set the frequency to 250 hertz just to remove any unnecessary low end, since this is a lead after all. Next up, let's add some dimension to the sound. So we're going to go for this convolve for some room emulation. Let's go to factory, long, and then let's select this caster big verb. Now that's absolutely massive. I don't want it to be that big. I just want it to sound like it's in a room. So for the size, let's drop it from 100 to 20, and let's drop this mix to about 13%. So now it feels like the sound is being played in a room, which is exactly what I want. I don't want it to be true reverb. And now we've brought back a lot of those highs, so let's cut them again with another filter. Same thing, let's do MG low 18. This time let's do 8,000 hertz because why not? So that's sounding absolutely fantastic to me. I really love the texture that we were able to create with just 2 oscillators and a couple of interesting effects in a sequence. One last thing that you can do to destabilize your sound even more is to do some more pitch variation. So you can do that with LFO1, for example. So just select it, and then you can click this default over here to change the curve, and then you can go random curved, because why not? And if you don't like it, you can just do it again as many times as you want until you get a cool shape. And then let's drag LFO1 to the fine tuning of only oscillator A, and now you get that crazy pitch variation. I'm going to actually change this from BPM to hertz and just slow it down to, let's do 0.9. And the slower it is, the more you're going to hear that pitch variation. So I'm going to change this percentage to maybe about 10%. I don't want it to be so intense. And then you can also create a macro knob if you like. So let's go to our matrix over here. If we look at this LFO line over here, this is what we just did. We can actually drag a macro number 1 as an aux source over here. So in this case, we would increase it to the max value that we want it to be at. So when we raise macro number 1, we now have a detune knob, detune. So I'm gonna leave that at a pretty tame amount because I don't really want it to be super audible. I just want it to add a little bit of more instability to the sound. Great, so I'm super happy with how this is sounding. Let's take a look at the full production. So right over here, we have the sound that we just made in Serum 2. And then what I did is I just dragged in a drum loop from Splice, one of these Soviet post-punk loops. For the intro, I added this wires plugin on it. It's basically emulating an old Soviet tape recorder. With it on, it sounds like this. For the rest of the production, I just added some noise over here, again from Splice. So that's really fun to just add some texture. Next, I played some bass guitar on my trusty Stingray bass, which is somewhere back there. All I've got on there is this LA2A compressor just to even the signal out a little bit, and then this wires plugin again. Next up, we've got some additions from Drum Rack over here. I just dragged in a couple of percussion samples from some vintage drum machines. Same over here. This is just another sample from the JD800 dance card. And over here, I've got a cymbal again from a vintage drum machine, just for some impact when the beat hits. And that's about it. So let's just play the whole production with the sound we made. So that'll just about do it for this week's video, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around if you made it to the end. I'm sweating so much because I have no AC, but I do it for you guys. I do it for you. I really hope you found some value in this video. As always, I have a bunch of useful links in the description of this video on my Gumroad page. I've got free Afro House kicks, free Serum 2 presets. I've got a Prophet 5V guide. If the Prophet synthesizer ever confused you, definitely check that out because it's going to clear everything up. And yeah, as always, thank you guys so much for the support. I can't tell you how much your nice comments mean to me. They mean the absolute world. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know if you have any video ideas or if you have any suggestions for future videos. Thank you again and have a good night. Bye-bye.